soon after Labour won the general election last year, newly appointed Health Secretary Wes Streeting set out his plan for the NHS, saying that major surgery was needed to make it fit for the future. So, is it capable of reform? Is Wes the man to do it? And who is the real man behind the politician? We have lots of questions. To tell us more and share details of a new policy affecting women, please welcome Health Secretary Wes Streeting. Hello, hello.
Hello, I think this is the most nervous I've ever felt on any TV programme I've ever done.
Every politician
I just
says
walked
that.
on, I nearly knocked the set over.
You're shaking,
I'm recovering from a stinking cold. I've been gargling TCP all week just so I could get on this programme. I thought, great, I'm going to trip up or destroy the set.
Well, we're very pleased to
I've
see
made
you.
it in one piece.
It shows you care, Wes.
Yeah. Well, let's kick off with the reason of why you're here. So, you know this statistic. 60% of women feel that their health issues aren't taken seriously, and you're sort of making a little step this week to address that. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so today we're announcing that in the 40-plus health check that most over 40s will get, unless they've already got an underlying condition, like heart disease or something that the NHS is seeing us regularly for, we get called in for a 40-plus health check. And until now, that's only really focused on cardiovascular disease and things like that. So trying to protect your, prevent your heart attacks, your strokes. And now, following all of the campaigning that's been done, including by Loose Women, we're going to include menopause in the 40-plus health check for the first time. And the reason we're doing that... is because this is a natural stage of life that affects all women, and yet 9 in 10 women do not feel they get enough information about it. A quarter of all women suffer really severe symptoms with menopause, sometimes to the extent of having to leave work or suffering from family breakdown as a result. And often the NHS, and I'm afraid not just on menopause, sometimes treats common conditions experienced by women as if they're rare conditions that affect an alien species. So we've got to change that culture and tackle medical misogyny in the NHS. So this is not the be-all and end-all, but this is a really important step on our way to making sure women get good menopause advice and care, and we start to make sure the NHS serves all of us, not just some of us.
Now, it's a very good step in the right direction, but it's going to be part of an existing health check. So, in fairness, it's not really going to cost you anything, is it, to add that on the end? Is that going to be enough to address this gender health gap?
Not to address the whole gender gap in the NHS, no. I think it's an important step for menopause, but there's much more to do. So when we came in, the previous government had introduced a women's health strategy, and you've probably heard me slag the previous government off quite a lot, and I'd say with good reason.
And then you.
Yeah, but on this, actually, the women's health strategy we inherited wasn't half bad, actually. There was some really good stuff in it. So rather than come in and tear it up and say, oh, that's the Tory plan, we're going to have my plan, what we're going to do is build on that and asked our women's health ambassador, Dame Leslie Regan, who wrote the original strategy, to renew it, update it, look at what's going well, look at what isn't going well, and then make sure we're also plugging the gaps, because it's not just menopause. We hear too many examples of women who are suffering from things like polycystic ovary syndrome. Endometriosis is a huge one. I mean, women are just sent back time and time again.
For years, it's getting missed.
100%.
Complications can be life-changing.
Often 10 years before you're even diagnosed. Now, we all know what a state the NHS is in so many areas, and you want reform. Is there really any way to improve it, to do something about these waiting lists? And, we are all desperate to hear about ambulance waiting times and all of that. Is it possible, Wes?
It is, and not just because I'm an optimist, but we've been in for, 15 months or so now, and there are already some green shoots of recovery in the NHS. So we've cut waiting lists by 200,000. And in fact, this year, in April, it's the first time in 17 years that waiting lists fell during the month of April. Normally, the pressures of that time of year mean that waiting lists just go up. And we really went hard at it to make sure they were coming down. We promised 1,000 more GPs in our first year. We've now recruited well over 2,000. And patient satisfaction with GPs is on the up. Now, I always know when I say things like this that there'll be people watching who think, what's he talking about?
I'll do anything to get an
I'm still on a
appointment.
waiting list.
Yeah.
I can't get through. So I'm not pretending that we've solved all the problems, far from it. But firstly, things are beginning to move in the right direction. And secondly, the NHS isn't perfect, but is worth protecting and cherishing, because that principle of a national health service, free at the point of use, publicly owned by all of us, paid for by all of us, so it's there for all of us, that principle that was affordable in 1948 is as relevant and affordable today. And the tragedy of the NHS is that too often it hasn't been there for all of us when we need it. There have been too many examples of people left undiagnosed, not treated on time, ambulances not arriving on time, medical scandals. So there are lots of problems to go at. But, you know, I'm here today talking to you because the NHS was there for me when I needed it.
Yeah.
When I had kidney cancer, it was diagnosed early, it was treated fast, I had robotic surgery, I recovered quickly, and I'm really lucky. One of my constituents, who's now become a really good friend of mine, Nathaniel, he didn't get diagnosed until stage 4. And he is currently experiencing what are likely to be the last weeks and months of his life. And that's the injustice we've got to tackle about the failures in the NHS.
The thing that intrigues me about you, because we've had a lot of politicians on here over the years, you speak human, which a lot of politicians don't. And, you know, we could ask you a million questions about the NHS, but what we wanted to do today, particularly, was to just ask about you, because a lot of politicians don't get asked about themselves. And, you know, your background, you grew up with a single mum on a council estate, and you were the first person in your family to go to university, Cambridge, no less. What was it about you as a kid that made you manage to get yourself out of that situation?
See, I don't think it was. I don't think it was just about me. Actually, quite the opposite. I think it's about the support that was in place for me that meant I could achieve my potential, and a big part of that was great teachers. I had a great state education, and what's remarkable about that in a way is that when I was going to school in the 80s and 90s, London's state schools were a byword for failure, like they're notorious for it. And I went to a normal state primary school and secondary school. In fact, my secondary school went in special measures for a few years I was there. But there were some really great teachers who always looked out for me.
Who saw your potential.
Yeah. I also, I mean, for all of the struggles we had growing up, you know, my mum did struggle at points when we were growing up. We had a very good, supportive family and an extended family across the East End. And although I didn't think it was a great place to live at the time, the council flat we lived in gave us that security of a roof over our head. And I sort of fast forward now, I've got kids in my constituency growing up with the same poverty and disadvantage, but they're not in a council flat, they're in bed and breakfast, they're being moved from temporary accommodation, school to school, and I think, well, what chance is there for those kids if those teachers don't get the chance to work their magic because the kids are moved on? What chance is there for their parents to hold down jobs if they haven't even got stability of where they're living? So I feel like I'm a product of the wise investment of the British taxpayer. Yes, I had to work hard, and I was brought up by my dad, who's always been in my life, to work hard, play by the rules. That was a big, important part of my upbringing. But also, you know, the social security system put food in the fridge and money in the electric meter. I had a great state education, social housing, and some of those things get a bad rep sometimes in our country.
And what about
but actually, I wouldn't be here without it.
Being gay, because you've been with your partner Joe since 2013. When did you realise that you were gay?
Oh, a lot earlier than when I actually admitted it to myself and to people around me. Yeah. So I'd say probably when I was a teenager at secondary school.
And what stopped you before that? Was it just...
Loads of things. I mean, partly faith and going to church, partly fear about how my family and friends would react. What would it be like? I mean, when I was growing up, we still had discrimination against gay people in terms of goods and services, employment, the ability to serve in the military. So all of those things are quite frightening. And over time, those things have changed. I mean, there's still prejudice in society, but things have changed. I was smiling at your earlier discussion about divorces because I've been engaged for 8 years now, and I thought we haven't even got around to the wedding yet without
So you had
planning for the divorce.
about a divorce?
No, we haven't. I mean,
They might have commitment issues, though, for 8 years.
Well, the good thing about me and Joe is we're so focused on what we're doing professionally that in the event we get round to getting married and then decide we want to get divorced, it will take us so long to organise it.
You're obviously very ambitious. Do you ever eye up the top job? Could you see yourself leading our country?
Do you know, the more and more I've seen the top job and seen what Keir Starmer has to contend with, you know, if you'd asked me a few years ago, I would have said, yeah, absolutely. Who wouldn't want to be Prime Minister? It's a really difficult job. And look, I know he comes in for flack, Keir Starmer, and I just say that that is a very tough, demanding job. And I've got to worry about all of the things going on in the National Health Service. He's got to worry about that. All the other public services, all the things that are going on in the world, the state of the public finances, the state of family
we're
finances.
running out of time. If the job comes up, yes or no?
I don't think there's going to be a vacancy.
Yes or no?
I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. Thank you very much. I've always got myself into trouble when I've asked that question in the past, so I'm not going to now.
How do you think we asked you?
Wes Streeting, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.